All right, all right. All right, peace, everybody. Peace. We're going live. We're gonna be speaking with a genealogist today. I think this is gonna be a great learning experience for everybody. You definitely gonna want to like and share this video. Share this with your friends and family. Make sure you click like and click that share button, okay? Because this is the type of information that you want to be getting out to as many people as possible. And also make sure you go into the description and check out the links in there. The links for her websites in there. She actually does genealogy for other people as well. So like I was saying, you're just going to want to share this video, help get this information out there, and also check out the links in the video. So if you come back on later on, just make sure you check out those links and share with everybody. And we'll be getting started real soon. Okay, all right. Peace. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Um, we're going to go ahead and get started now. I just want to thank you all for clicking like and share, for helping to get this information out there. The person that we're speaking with today is a genealogist, a professional genealogist. Her name is Jessica Danzey. She's actually put in a lot of work as far as tracing her own family history, and she has an organization that does this for other people as well. Um, You'll definitely want to check out the description. If you're watching this on TV, make sure you go back on your phone or computer, click on the link in there. It's called changeournarrative.com. Her email contact's also in there, Jessica at changeyournarrative.com. And once again, the website, changeournarrative.com, links in the description. I'll go ahead and let her explain her journey, how she came about this, towards this information. But pretty much, from just reading her bio, she's been about ending the stigma that, that everything just began with slavery. In school, in history class, even in higher education systems and higher learning in colleges, they still teach you pretty much when it comes to the so-called African American that everything began with slavery, right? And I could just say, just speaking from my own experience, just from one side of my family, we have a historian in our family. Rest in peace to Uncle Odell. He traced our family back really far. And one year in particular at our family reunion, he put up a display showcasing just some of his work. Okay. And he actually had like black and white pictures of old ancestors. And going back, I'd say up to like maybe a little more than 200 years ago on paper, you know? And that's, with just from my family line, I'm just speaking on me, with us being here. Not only being here, but being free. We had ancestors who were like, cowboys. They got pictures with the cowboy hats, with, the guns, the horses, mules, and all that. And, these were like in the 1800s, and they were living to be in their 90s, some being over 100 and having huge families. Okay. And this is like the side of history that you do not see anything pertaining to us. It doesn't matter where it is in the world almost. Even if they're talking about people that look like us in Europe, they're always saying that they were slaves. That's like the go-to, for people like us. They just always, associate us with slavery, and especially, in regards to people here in the Americas. Okay, so definitely this is a needed conversation. And like I said, I mean, I say this all the time, but this is the type of thing that you want to share with everyone. Even if you don't think your family or friends are open to this information, just put it out there, because the consciousness is rising and the truth is getting out there. Okay, so it's time. It's time to change the narrative. So I love that name for that website, because it's very important for us to define who we are. And that's one of the things that we haven't done up to this time period. You may see another video on this channel where I was with my wife, and we were speaking on an education manual made by an expert on Native American history named Jack D. Forbes. Okay, and I think that manual, I got it. I have a physical copy. It's called Afro Americans in the Far West. Okay, and he has another book too. It's got a really long title, but let me see if, hang on, looking for it. Hang on one second. Okay, yeah. Good. I can show you to. Okay, yeah. There's another one. It's called Africans and Native Americans: The Language of Race and the Evolution of Red Black Peoples. If you look on the cover, here's the three Dons, and they're all dark skinned, what they would call Africans. Okay, they'll probably tell you that these were like escaped slaves who, I believe I saw like a little caption on that picture that's on the cover of the book. I'll show it to you real quick. But it's got like three brothers, And basically, the caption that I okay. If you don't mind, I'm just gonna explain something that I was speaking on a second ago. All right. So yeah, this is the book I was talking about by Jack D. Forbes. And if you look on the cover of that, they have the three Dons, and what they'll tell you is that these were like escaped slaves, and I think this was in Peru, if I'm not mistaken. But they'll say that there were three escaped slaves who became noblemen, right? Which doesn't make any sense. Like they rose up through the ranks and became royalty of the royal class. Okay, so just to cut this short, it's a really good book. Speaks on this throughout this book and through the handbook I was speaking on by the same guy, Jack D. Forbes, who was pretty much expert on Native American history. He explains how people that look like us were classified sometimes within their own lifetime, reclassified as Indian, Negro, colored, mulatto during their own lifetime. Okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and bring my guest in, and once again, her name is Jessica Danzey, and I just want to say thank you for coming on. If you could introduce yourself and just let us know how you got into genealogy.
Okay, cool. I think I'm paused still.
No, we can see and hear you.
Okay, cool. So my name is Jessica Danzey. I am a genealogist. Before I was a genealogist, I was a legal researcher. I've been a legal researcher for about 15 years. I started out working for a judge, and then I worked for Chase Bank in a litigation department where I research people. So I can go into the credit and the financial system in a different conversation, but I've always been a researcher. When I was about 23, my mother was dying, and I never knew my father. And I found him, of course, as a researcher of people. And he was stationed in Alaska. And we went through all the channels, DNA test. Sure enough, it was confirmed that he was my father. Now, wanting to get to know him, I started researching what he was from Oklahoma, which I never heard that lived substantially in Oklahoma, and I was quite surprised to learn that of our history. I started researching our genealogy. This is about 8 to 10 years ago, and what I found astonished me. My whole entire life, I was told that you are African American, you were enslaved, you came on ships from Africa, and what I saw never suggested that. In fact, what it suggested, based on 2 generations ago, my great great grandfather, whose name was Alexander Powell, that was his Indian name, and I'll explain that. His American name was Anthony Powell. He went by A.P. Powell. And he spoke in 1911 over a decade of litigation between Negro Indians, as they described them, or what we call today Aboriginal. He spoke about this in front of Congress. He talked about how he was a lawyer and he was commissioned by the Dawes to find Aboriginal people to sign them up to the rolls because they had been missed. Upon this investigation, he set up offices in Alabama, in Louisiana, in Mississippi, which is where we are native from. We are Choctaw and Chickasaw, and which were all one tribe. However, the Chickasaw is a sub tribe, or it may be in reverse. But nonetheless, he spoke about how there were thousands of applications that they threw out because they did not want to sign up the Negro Indian. And as a result, this 9 application married, unfortunately, his son was shot in the head in 1930. My grandfather was burnt alive in Oklahoma in 1960. So when I realized that there had been a trade of genocide against my family, I went back to the source as to how could this have happened, and this is what I found. So from there, I looked at my mother's family. I'm like, well, maybe this is the anomaly. Of course, I look different. Maybe I'm just the oddball out. On my mother's side, I didn't go back to Africa. I went back to Creek in South Carolina in Abbeville, on the rolls. This is by blood, and I'm like, but I'm African. people that identify with being African American had at least one Aboriginal, what we know now Negro Indian line. And this is what my company is built off of. I have no interest in proving one theory over the other, as I shared earlier.
I'm
That are,
I'm
go
so
ahead.
sorry. Can I get you to pause real quick?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, we're hearing that the volume's low in here. Let me see. Hang on 1 second. All right. Okay, that should fix it. Can you start back from when you were discussing like your grandfather?
Sure. So let me preface this. From 1889 all the way up until 1901, the Dawes Rolls were open. The Dawes Rolls were what they used when they allotted annuities, land, and of course mineral rights to the land in out western Oklahoma. So all these tribes migrated from all over. They were government mandated to go out west to sign up for these roles. You had different treaties in which different agreements were given as far as the different tribes. However, they all met. They realized, based on complaints from the Negro Indians, that the Dawes rolls were done incorrectly. So the government contracted lawyers to go out and solicit applications that were left off. My great great grandfather was one of those lawyers. And what he did, he signed up Negro Indians instead of the Mongol Indians.
Wow.
And in Mississippi, where we are from, in Alabama, he had offices, and all of these things can be verified through public searches and newspapers. But nonetheless, he had all these offices, and he came back to the tribes with the Negro Indians' name. They demanded he throw out thousands of applications. And in return, him and his 15 children were denied access, even though we proved to be on the 1830 rolls during the treaty.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, and so is this? Are you saying this is pretty much how you got into genealogy? Just looking through your own family history and seeing, what your grandfather was able to find.
Yes, more or less. And on my mother's side, I don't know if you all heard that. On my mother's side, because I felt that my father may have been the anomaly, his family, I went on my mother's side, and sure enough, I never went back to Africa. Instead, I went back to Crete, Abbeville, South Carolina. And I realized that I never saw Africa. And that's what prompted me to research other people. And family after family, I wasn't seeing Africa, I was seeing you were already here.
Okay, so when you say research other people, you're talking about, are you referring to researching other so-called African Americans?
Yes, in my circle. Initially, it was in my close circle.
Okay, and so would just on average, would you say how often have you seen this occur? With different people, family backgrounds.
And that is a caveat. It's often enough to prompt me to not no longer be unbiased and be surprised about it. Now, this is the other side of the coin. Um, when we're hearing that you can't find your family on the rolls, but you're stuck in 1830 or 1840, generally my legal approach to that is from a researcher position, of course,
Hmm.
not from a lawyer, is that if you can't show that we are from Africa, then we were already here. And that's just by deduction, based on the fact that we use our records to solidify citizenship. If I basically have a client that I stopped in Cato, Texas, who were from Louisiana, well, the Cato tribe was their band just basically was murdered Are they cease to exist in any roles? Well, the Caddo tribe is unique in the sense that they will show up as living in that territory when they were removed, but there are no real roles that represent the majority. So you have different a different approach to historical context and record keeping, in which you can only deduce that those people living in that region were indeed Caddo Indian.
Okay. All right.
There are no tribes.
Okay. And okay, given this, like, I'd like to talk about what happened with Walter Plecker. Um, I think in the 1940s, where he did a mass wipeout of a lot of different records. But how do you have certain circumstances where you have like the families that own the Foxwood casinos that look like us and they're able to maintain that tribal identity, but then for the most of us, it's just completely wiped out. There's no link at all.
Okay, and let me qualify this.
Mm-hmm.
You had, and I want to identify particularly the Algonquian people, the Shinnecock, the people that were of the Iroquois Confederacy,
Mm-hmm.
at, as far as migratory. There were different there were different circumstances in which people were enslaved. People generally identify, like you're saying. I'm not familiar with. I don't remember the name of the tribe in Michigan that are fighting for their land that look like you and I, and more so complexion. But more or less, colonization happened in waves, and then you had states' rights that were then created to control the indigenous population, not the Mongol, but the Negro Indian is what they referred to in the records.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's how some were able to maintain their tribal identity, um, but some were not. I mean, again, we could not read or write, particularly if you were enslaved in the South. So a lot of our history that was only orated to us, and you have Indian in your family, was really misrepresented through what we know as the telephone game. We were told that we had Indian instead of we are the Indian. In the South, the oppression was slightly different in the record keeping and the ability to maintain language.
Okay. And for people on here, there's a video on this same channel referencing the Montauk Indian tribe, and there's a case in the Supreme Court in New York where they declared the last remaining members of the tribe extinct, even though they were the only ones carrying on the traditions and everything, which legally would make them the tribe members. They were known within the community. They called the chief, big chief and everything, and they
Mm-hmm.
declared the Montauk Indians extinct because they were too black, right?
Of course. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And, you, and that is no anomaly. So let me cut you off, because when I say that there's been litigation like this for generations since 1889. So part of this, my grandfather's words, was his own lawsuit against the United States government and an Indian tribe. And there was another lawsuit that I think recently within the last year that was brought towards the Creek Indians because the Cherokees won their lawsuit. The Cherokees, however, are unique, and we would like to set that as a legal precedent. So what happened to the Montauk, it won't happen again. But we are definitely in a minority with this belief system until it's proven and brought forward, and that's what we seek to do.
Okay. So do you think there's going to have to be like an educational push, maybe to try to get people like us, to at least think outside the box of what we've been getting taught for decades now, right? Or or is there something else at play?
I believe it's more of a period of enlightenment. I think we are all going this period of enlightenment. I believe the original wave was when we started challenging religion and white imperialism through Christianity. I think that there is an Indian proverb that identifies this prophecy of fire, and we are in the period of enlightenment. And yes, education is the way, but in order to get our history told in the books, we have to move with the records alone. And we are not historians. We are not in a position to complete the narrative because we're not seeing it for ourselves, and that's what we seek to do.
Okay. Okay. So if I can ask a question from the chat, what are you what tools are you using for your research?
And I get asked that a lot. And a few of them are proprietary because I do go through different channels as far as skip tracing. Now, when we talk about just helping other people look at the records, everyone is different. And what's unique about us is the ability to place ourselves in bondage in particular locations in which we can identify with our tribe. I mean, it's far fetched because sometimes you look at the 1860, the 1870 census, and you can pull those up on Family Search, on Ancestry. You see that, but the missing link is so if your family lived in Tennessee and it was Cherokee territory, maybe at Atlanta or in Georgia, and your family's always been there, and you see that they were in Georgia during the period of enslavement, then I would start particularly as a tool with the Eastern Cherokee. However, you have multiple tribes in Georgia. So there is no one like direct approach. There is no blueprint. We don't have a lot of African American genealogists, and we don't have a lot of Black Indian genealogists that are looking for the things that we're looking for as indicators.
Okay. All right. Have you ever read? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Now I thought you were speaking. I'll
No, 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 no.
Okay. Have you ever read like Jack D. Forbes' work? Have you ever come
No.
across him? Yeah, because like one of the things that he does, he shows like how on several instances you have people that are within their own lifetime, maybe on a different census, they'll be classified as Indian, and then 10, 20 years later, they're classified as mulatto or Negro.
Hmm. I'm
And
familiar with that. I'm familiar with
okay,
that
and
practice very
or
well.
maybe on their death certificate, they'll be classified as Negro, even though at one point in time, they were being classified as Indian. And so, like, that's I don't know if that's something that you can see, if you can go far back in people's I guess records, because you also like one of the things that they did, they would either classify people as colored or mulatto, and that was like that was another label to get people out of that. Have you experienced difficulty just coming into the I guess a blockade that was set up by Walter Plecker where he destroyed a lot of records wholesale, just
Well, a lot of sorry, white genealogists know this that the 1890 census were destroyed. They were deleted because of these DOS rolls. So when I explained earlier that 1888 up until 1901, when these DOS rolls were open, yes, they were classified as mulatto. A lot of people that were Mongol and Aboriginal were classified as mulatto. People that were Aboriginal and white, because that was the way they were able to access the land for the most part, they were classified as mulatto. The indicators though are tricky though, because there are certain times where I do get people that were listed as white because they were passing. And then generations later, they're like, "Oh, we've always been black." Well, wait a minute. Your family identified as being white, so those are blockades. But the biggest blockade that I'm finding is that the 1890 census was indeed. I don't know when Plecker did his thing, but the records were always destroyed. Anytime there's any glimpse of who we are, they have been destroyed, including this very thing we're talking about today. We want to believe that reparations are only going to be available through the United States government, but my position is very different. If the so-called Mongol Indians sold land that did not belong to them, and they were indeed in control of most of the southern states, and the treaties weren't signed until 1830. Well, there leaves a full gap of who was enslaving us on this land then. If the United States government did not acquire the land, Florida was not made a state until 1827. The treaty in Mississippi wasn't signed until 1831 at Dancing Rapids Creek. You had all these treaties being signed, yet Andrew Jackson came along far later than what we knew slavery existed in the South. I believe a few different things happened. We were enslaved by the European, but my records show that we were also enslaved by these Mongols on our own land. So when we talk about reparations and claiming our nationality, that is a position that I take when we look at the census record, all the things that were done to destroy them, including the litigations that we're still seeing today.
okay. All right, and I have another question from the chat. Somebody's asking, if you have any methods or understanding of how to get certified from any of the five major tribes.
Okay, this is a difficult question because people have different approaches, and I'm gonna lay all of this out because it's important when you're talking about claiming a nationality. And one of my closest mentors, he kind of expresses the need to repatriate, the need to start your own tribe, because when you're subjugated to the system that is literally a territory and a sovereignty of the United States, you are still beholding to a system of oppression. However, if one seeks to simply join these societies, it is lineage based. However, a lot of the times that you see our ancestors listed on this roll were listed as freedmen, which basically means that they enslaved us. And they sided with white supremacists, and they basically said, no, you can never ever be a citizen. And that is in the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Creek, in every one of their constitutions. If you have one drop of blood, you will never be a citizen. So that's why you're seeing us sue them, because their treaties did not say black, white are indifferent. They changed their constitutions, they changed their laws so people of color can never be citizens. Now, I don't know how hard it's been. Well, I do know how hard it's been for us trying to be citizens of this country. I don't want to go to the next just to be oppressed again.
That makes a lot of sense. And I mean, we saw that you spoke on this a little bit earlier, but what happened with the Cherokee, like, trying to kick out all of the freedmen, right? Like thousands of Cherokee freedmen. They just, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was some money at stake, and so they decided to kick out all the freedmen, right?
It wasn't just the money, it was the right to vote. That
Okay.
was the biggest, it was a political thing. Outside of the annuities and the land that's given, we are owed far more because they colluded with the Europeans, not only to enslave but to take our land. So in my position, it is, we were here first. And when we talk about just the system within itself, I think once we approach it from a perspective of, okay, not just the land, not just the money, but we want equal rights, and we want not just to change the face of what it means to be an Indigenous American, but to definitely be included in that narrative because we've earned the right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, when you do the process, like for say somebody that's watching right now, is interested in learning more about their heritage. They think that that what you're saying makes sense. What are the first steps? What would they need to do?
Okay, so my website is pretty simple. There's an information sheet located on the website that says information. The website is changeournarrative.com. And there are different packages. So the average package will run you a little over 1,200, including the Aboriginal search. However, we do payment plans. And now it's extremely discounted because the average genealogist charges from $6,000 to $8,000, and they only go back 5 lines. We go back as far as the records will allow, and we include the records. We do this for a few different reasons. One, because we don't want 10 generations from now what happened to our ancestors when they deleted our records to happen to our children. We have to preserve who we are, and we have to make these undeniable truths very much something that's taught to our children, generation after generation. So when we are doing these packages, we want to make it affordable, but we also want to be realistic as far as time. But we never want to deny people to have the records that we use in order to prove what we're seeking to prove. So um, outside of that, we have global searches. We don't just rely solely in the continental U.S. We do know that people may have a European line, a South American line, a Latin American line, even an African line. And where there are records, we will touch it. So we contact different agencies. Of course, I have a background in legal research. So I always try to go the extra mile and at least contact these governments.
Okay, okay, and
Oh, let me tell you what they need. I'm
okay,
sorry.
yeah, sure.
So once you purchase the package, assistant or myself will contact you, and we will ask for just the first four generations: your name, your parents' name, maiden name, of course, for any of the women, and then your grandparents' names. We don't ask for more names than that because what we are doing has to be ironclad. It has to be It can't be the where, oh, you told me and I did it because you wanted to prove this. It has to be, I know nothing. I don't even know if your parents are really your parents. I do a background check on everybody, and then I move forward with the records. Now, if I do get in a situation where a father may be questionable, or this person they may, the names are a little bit tricky, then I'll reach back out. But for the most part, I look at everything unbiased.
Okay, great. So you're going back through records like birth certificate, death certificate, and stuff like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Do you advise people? How do you feel about doing DNA background checks or whatever? Like tracing your DNA heritage.
So I work in technology law professionally. I do
Hmm.
still work, and well, not traditionally 8 to 5, but I work in technology law and I work globally. So I'm actually in Barcelona right now.
Okay.
So I don't advise people to do ancestry, and this is why. And this is why I brought up the type of law that I work in. When we talk about data privacy, the most sensitive information is your DNA. That is your divine data. I don't care what your religious beliefs are, that's your coding. When you allow someone to examine that coding, then your divine data becomes vulnerable. So I have two approaches to this. One, I'm a genealogist, I'm not a geneticist. Geneticist is a science that has not yet been proven. Even in their contract, they state every single contract they tell you is for research purposes and recreational purposes. Now, we're not
Wow.
dumb, but we
Yeah.
don't always read the contract. Research to me means that you're going to take my data, as they all came out and said they do, and sell it to big pharmaceutical companies. And what they do is they genetically test you to see
Hmm.
what diseases you're vulnerable for. And then they start marketing those diseases and encouraging the growth of those things. Outside of that, the other thing is the paper genocide. They were able to wipe us out based on paper, and as we move to a biometric society, they're able to wipe us out digitally. And all they're doing is taking our samples 0.07%, which is the equivalent of 13 ancestors. And not all of our DNA is passed on. They take that DNA sample, they don't account for the migration, they don't account for the Aboriginal side, and they find your African ancestor by migration rather than origin. I'm sorry, by origin rather than migration. I'm sure we have that DNA inside of us, and that's what they're seeking to isolate to
Hmm.
reclassify us digitally as being African.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard that before too. We have another question from the chat. What are your thoughts on the upcoming census? And to be more specific, they're like zeroing in on African Americans and quote unquote white people and asking them to go more in depth. Like, what's your actual background, your ethnicity, right?
I told my daughter that this census, we're Indian. And you can't demand the same way they can use whatever, oh, I'm transgender, I identify female, even though I was born with whatever, or the other way around. I'm not knocking anybody for what they identify with. Just don't cheat me out of the right as well. I know my record, so I'm taking the position as being Indian, if they don't have Aboriginal on there, and that is where I stand with that. Now everyone's free to put whatever they want down, but before you check that nationality, you understand that that's what you're claiming, and black is not a nationality.
Definitely, definitely. And if you look, have you ever heard of the Black Act? There's one act I think from South Carolina from 1740, and
Mm-hmm.
it's actually the Negro Act. And if you look at
Okay.
like what it says about because Negro evolved to colored to black African
Mm-hmm.
American. If you look at like what it says in there, it's heinous. Like it's horrible. The label that they saddled us into. So I think like I love that your website has change our narrative. Because I think it's very important, especially in this day and time, for us to define who we are, to stop going along with these labels that have been placed on us. Is they all African American? It still means the same thing as black, as colored, as Negro. It still
Right.
keeps us at the bottom of a caste system. So it's
Yeah.
extremely important for us to define who we are, and if possible, to do it collectively so that we can have some power. There was another question. Somebody asked, "What are your thoughts on the tribal names?"
And I mentioned this earlier. My great great grandfather, his tribal name is gonna sound weird. Is Alexander Patubi. And Patubi, the surname Tubi means warrior, and it translated to English to Powell. So quite astonishing. I have a few clients that I'm related to. I do random genealogy projects where people completely don't know each other, but they're related. And I'm like, oh my God, that is crazy. So when we talk about tribal names, I mean, again, everybody's willing to identify what they identify to. I believe it is important when you're talking about establishing whether you want to repatriate yourself. You do need your own identity. However, that's for everyone to decide as individuals. I don't think that your name should dictate your nationality or your identity, but I can understand why it's important.
Great, great. All right, thanks. Thank you for sharing that. I'm trying to scroll back up. We had one more question for you. Um, if you could, though, while I'm searching for this, if you could give some more details just on what people need to do. Of course, you said that people you get the names of their parents and grandparents. What else do people need besides just their family name?
That's pretty much it. Again, I work with the bare minimum because I never want anyone to come back and say, "Oh, well, she did it this way." You know, when we're doing things, it's that black tax. We are looked at and scrutinized to where I have genealogists that are white going in on me, and I'm like, you know what the records say, and don't lie. I dare you to challenge my credentials. You know, a lot of genealogists, they're not even qualified as researchers. You're talking about I have to have 2 degrees to come strong.
Mm-hmm.
And literally just woke up one day. I've been doing American Revolution genealogy, and that's just a privilege in it. So I don't ask for anything but the names and an open mind. I sometimes need things that have been told that weren't true. As far as different parents, I'm like, this couldn't have been your grandmother. There was something that was missed. Just an open mind and open heart. You know, and then there are going to be some European lines. I mean, we already know that we are a diaspora of so many different cultures, but we're trying to research the dominant. But you will see that. So just an open mind, and those names are all that we need.
Okay, how long have you been doing this for?
Researching our genealogy.
Well, both, both.
Okay, 15 years. I've been a legal researcher. Genealogy about 10 years.
Okay, great. So, have you had anyone, I guess, take this information to court, like sue for any type of action or recognition? Has anyone ever, been able to hold this up?
So so this is my position. I am going to law school. So that is my goal is to not just do the research today that will breed change in presidents tomorrow. So I am going to law school to practice Native American law and not so much to be a part of it, but to understand what it is that we are facing as a people. As far as lawyers out here that practice this, I don't know many. And then I did do the research on the statistics. The actual field itself are 0.01% of color in Native American law.
Wow.
So it gives you an idea of how greatly we're represented. Now, I have had a family, based on my research, contact the tribe with their genealogy report, with their proof, and they came back and denied them because they were of color. And
Wow.
I told them, I was like, this is why I'm going to law school. This is why we're pushing for it. I'm doing it in reverse. I'm doing the research while I'm pursuing it. Because when I get out, I won't do any other, I don't see myself practicing in a law but this. Because this is where my passion is, this is where my purpose is. And like my ancestor that came before me, I believe that this is what I'm here to do.
Okay. Um, we have another question too. Someone was saying that they have their great grandparents' Indian names, but they're trying to see how they can find them on the Dawes rolls, or if that's even possible.
Um, it, and so I get that too. I get that a lot. Um, Again, if there isn't a blueprint, if I were to say what I would do, because I'm not going to give anybody legal advice, that's the unauthorized practice of law,
Mm-hmm.
but I will say what I would do, analyzing the situation as a genealogist, is I would go back to the region that you've identified them on. So if you found them, let's say in Tennessee, if I found a client that had an Aboriginal ancestor with an Indian name, I would go back to the tribe in which I would go back to the land that they were known to be enslaved in, stay as close as you can get it, and I would contact that tribe directly. A lot of the records are not available online, and even if they are, they're horribly misrepresented as far as the language written. These people that were doing these applications were not scholars. So we want to understand that when you went to the Indian office and you did the application and you came back out, people that transcribed that, they didn't get it right. And I think a lot of times it was on purpose. So I would say look at the place in which your family were enslaved at, you have the Indian name, go back to the tribe that lived in that area and contact them directly with your ancestors' names.
Okay. All right. Good advice. Have you ever heard of HR 1203 in Georgia?
I think somebody mentioned it in the comments earlier, and
Yeah.
I didn't have time to go back. I do read a lot, so you have to refresh my memory.
Okay. I'm gonna have to pull that up on Google. Someone said from a legal standpoint, how would HR 1203 from Georgia either be effective or ineffective based on indigenous nationalities? Let me see if I could find that. Trying to think, Georgia. What happened in Georgia? Okay, this is a recent bill.
As well, but again, my internet is really terrible here.
Anti. How is it in Spain? Have you gotten to do any sightseeing in Spain? Can you hear me? Hello? Video paused. All right, I'm see if I can get her back up. Not sure what happened. All right, y'all, hang on. Let's see, HR 1203 to strengthen and enhance the authority to discipline officers and employees. It's not the right, that can't be the right thing. I'll see if we can get her back on here. Isaiah Humphrey in the chat, if you could specify a little bit more about that HR 1203. I'll see if we can get her to call back in. Once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure you share this video. Do not just watch this video. Make sure you click share. We have a lot of people in here watching live. Make sure you click share, like, and share this video. All right? Especially the people in here saying that this information needs to get out. Peace to the Bahamas. We got people in here from the Bahamas. Much love to you. Make sure you share this video. It's not going to get out if you don't click share. All right? Everybody has a simple job to do. Click share. HR 1203 speaks on Moorish Americans being indigenous. We'll see if we can get her back on at another time. I'm gonna try to get her back in here. I don't know what happened. She is overseas, and she was saying the internet wasn't all that good. So we'll see if we can get her back up. But I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Share this. Help spread this information. Oh, HR 23, Moorish American Holy Week in Georgia. Resolution recognizing January 8th through the 15th as Moorish American Holy Week at the state capitol. Let's see. Moorish Americans whose ancient forefathers are the mothers and fathers of the human family standing these days as a comedy of descendants from the ancient Canaanites and Moabites who were permitted by the pharaohs of Egypt, Kemet, to traverse from East Africa and later form kingdoms extending from the northwestern, southwestern shores of Africa and the Atlantis Islands onto the present-day Americas. And whereas the Moorish Americans are teaching their people the true nationality and divine creed, that their people may become better citizens and know they are not Negroes, colored folk, black people, nor Afros, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders. 1779 lasted to 1865. In this area of time, as all nations are seeking peace, the indigenous Moorish peoples of the Americas are now united to link themselves with the family of nations. And whereas the Moorish Americans, being aboriginal to the territories of North, Central, and South America, have formed a sovereign theocratic government and guided by the principles of love, peace, truth, freedom, and justice through virtue of the universal rights of self-determination, as well as the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples, guaranteed in the Charter of the United Nations. Okay, so this is what the brother was talking about. HR 1203. This was in Georgia. All right. Islam. So let me check and see. I don't know. Sister might have been having trouble with her internet. If we can't get her back on today, maybe we can try again. Okay, she's trying to call back in. So we'll see if we can get it back up. She wasn't really coming from a Moorish perspective. You know, I could ask her about that. But it's another thing. Just because people aren't coming from a Moorish perspective doesn't mean we can't work together. Doesn't mean that there's not some way that we can all progress together. And especially, if we have, similar goals or same goals. All right. Okay, Dan. Somebody needs to get rid of Dan. Dan needs to get put in timeout. Dan ain't talking about anything at all. He's in here saying a bunch of ignorant stuff. Okay, so yeah, people aren't raising the conversation up. They gotta get out. They gone. We not dealing with that. All right. So yeah, she's trying to call back in, and like she said, she said did the research. The people knew that they had tribal ancestry, and the tribe denied them because of their appearance. All right. Islam Leon, if your goal is to become an adept, join the Moorish Science Temple of America. mstofa.net. Go there. Where you located, Leon? Let me know where you're located. What part of the country you in? You're a Mufti. Where you located? You're in Missouri? Okay, yeah, go to that website. There's a temple in St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken. All right. Everybody just hang on. She's trying to call back in. I guess internet was freezing up. Which line should we go by, the mother or the father? That's a good question. A lot of people say you get your nationality through your mother. They say you are what your mother is. Right. So, yeah, like I was saying, just stick around. We're going to see if we can get her back in here. She's trying to call back in right now. Just hang on. My son. Let's see. Islam. All right, but yeah, to the brother that asked, say you want to become an ADEP, go to that link right there. You're in Missouri, go to the link. There's a locator, a temple locator on there. Contact the temple in Missouri. You could also email them at register@mstofa.net. All right, as you can see, it is very important that we define who we are. Okay? Islam. Peace to you. Okay? And yeah, if you have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat. If she's able to get in, we'll ask them today. If not, we'll see if we can do another interview. What? Oh, okay. She said she just tried to call. Okay, hang on. Hold up. Let me see if I could get it to work. Hang on. Maybe it's on my end. Ah. Alright, maybe I need to do this. Sorry about that, y'all. Alright, we're going to try this again. Hey, sweetheart, call me. Can you call me so I can see if this is working? I don't know what's going on. It's not letting me call. You know what? There is a street called Noble Drew Ali. If I'm not mistaken, it's in Harlem. It's in the hood now. Okay. Hey, can you call again? Call back real quick. What's going on with FaceTime? Man. All right. So there's no video. What's going on? Hello? Say something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
It got too real.
I guess so. I'm not willing to accept that. Hang on. Wow. Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah, I don't know. We trying to get the sister back on. For some reason, FaceTime's acting crazy. It's not letting us do video. Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. They don't want this. Somebody said they don't want the truth to come out. I don't get it. Yeah, everything was going just fine, and now all of a sudden we can't do anything. All right.
You're still streaming fine.
Yeah.
Your sound is good. It could be because she's out the country and
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Wow. It's not even letting her call. She said she's trying to call, and it's just like she's. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. Well, we need to contact YouTube tech support. We need to get tech support on here. I need them to fix this right now. Man, this is crazy. Wow. So, I don't know. I'm gonna try. I'll try again, and if it's not doing it, then we'll just see if we could do this at another time. But yo, this is crazy. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna hang up. All right. Thanks. Wow. Wow. So they not letting me call out. FaceTime's like, nah, you ain't doing it. They not letting me call out. They not letting people call in. Man, yo, that's wild. It's like they working together. It's like, no, we can't let them have this discussion. Just shut his whole thing down. We need our own FaceTime. Okay, hold up. Okay, here we go. All right. Hello? Okay. I think it's working. When? I'm trying to connect. Hey. Okay.
Hey, sorry.
Finally. All right, we're back. Okay.
Often.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what happened, I don't know what happened. That never happens. Yeah. So I'm glad you were able to get back in. I kind of lost my train of thought, but let me see.
Okay, what I miss?
All right. Someone was asking which line we should go through, the mother or father, as far as I guess claiming your heritage, your indigenous heritage. It doesn't matter. Oh, can you hear me? Are you able to hear me? No? Hello? Can you hear me? Oh, man. Okay, this happened right before she cut off last time. Hang on once. Oh, man. Can you hear me? Wow. It cut. Huh? Wow. Again? Yo, I don't know what's up. Okay. So look, we're gonna have to try this again. Um I apologize. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's not gonna work. Is somebody throwing the N word around in there? Please kick whoever that is out. All right. Okay. What is the audio cutting out? Are you not able to hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. So we'll try this one more time, and if it can you hear me? Yeah. If it cuts off, we'll just if that's okay with you, we'll just try to do this at another time in the future.
It happens. It
Okay.
happens.
But I think this is a great conversation. There's a lot of people watching live, so there's a lot of interest in this topic. And I mean, just this is something that's not going to be covered in the mainstream, which is why we have this channel. But also, if you know, if you're tuned in to the community and you know what's going on, you know, a lot of people like us are starting to think outside the box and are starting to, you know, awaken to this possibility. You know, and some people are taking it even further than that. So this is something that's, you know, that's occurring like a phenomenon, you know, around the country. People are just, you know, coming online, and DNA is coming on or whatever. People are starting to, you know, realize this. But, you know, one thing like within my own family, my grandfather, he always told me that his father was a Blackfoot Indian, and he didn't tell my mom that though. You know, and then there's other people in my family who heard this from their parent or grandparent, and then the other ones, you know, maybe even like their own siblings or their own, you know, parents didn't get this from, you know, from the grandparent. So it's like, you know, it's crazy because, you know, within our own community, you know, you have that break, you know, with that being that indigenous heritage being passed down, and then, you know, the school system's teaching you something completely different. Are you frozen?
I think you may be
Oh,
moving too much because you know when you move, the camera has to capture it.
yeah. Yeah, it's lagging, but we can still hear you, so okay. Let me cut my camera off and see if that helps. Still,
Yeah,
still.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now. But when you're moving your arms, the camera has to read the movement.
Hmm.
So I didn't see, but I heard you get them to the point where you said your mom, but I missed the story.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
we can hear you, so I'm not gonna worry about the video. But
Oh no.
you know what I was
Okay.
saying? Just like within my own family, my grandfather told me that his father's a Blackfoot Indian. I have some cousins who, you know, heard the same type of things either from their parents or grandparents. But like my granddad didn't even tell this to my mom, and I think like I'm probably not the only person. Like, you know, within our own family, you have for whatever reasons like this information didn't get passed down.
Yeah, and so you see that you see our ancestors. My mother is 92 years old, and she had a head full of hair, and she was trying to tell me without telling me. And to me, this was something that I've always been told. I've always known from both sides of my family, having discovered my father's later, that there was more to it than what we were told. And I'm discovering that most people, they're more to what we're seeing than what we're being told, and that's what we seek to prove. That don't call us crazy. You know, people ridicule us in our own community. A lot of the pushback I get are from Mongols who don't want to accept the reality. But then I also get it from people of color that's like, oh, you want to be everything else but African. I have no issue with what I am. My only issue is that the story wasn't told properly. So that's my position on that. But our families are not different; and more so alike. And I think that your grandfather basically was trying to tell his story. However, he had no proof the way we do today.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then it, you know, it's probably difficult to contend with, you know, the school system and, you know, all these resources being put towards telling us the opposite, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, and it, yeah, that's crazy. You know, we got other people in here. Like a lot of people say that, you know, that's Blackfoot Indian. I think that's kind of like a conglomeration. It just, you know, people of color. A lot of people got lumped in as Blackfoot Indian. But okay, so one other thing I would like to ask is, I'm not trying to put too much pressure on you. Like you need to have all the answers, but
No,
what do
it's
you
okay.
think? Like from your approach, it would be like a way to progress. You know, with like for example, with the research that you're doing with the genealogy.
Okay, so that's a great segue and a proper way to end because, you know, there are a lot of theories. And I think one of your followers mentioned today, I don't remember her name unless I was shot her out, in regards to the position of don't call us African, you know, so on and so forth. We're American. Well, there is no one truth. If anything, it's a unified and universal truth. I believe that this whole summit they had a couple weeks ago when Jay Morrison got up and asked the question about nationality.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we are, out of many, we are one. I believe that there are a certain amount of us that came as Aboriginals from the Pacific, certain amount of us that came from Africa into the Caribbean Sea, which we now know is the West Indies. All these names, they mean something. Now, am I going to say that, you have people that are like, oh, well, we are the true Israelites. People that also they want, they have this desire for the truth, and their truth is the truth. I do believe that some of us went with Christopher Columbus, the great Aboriginal from Spain. Speaking of which, that showed that Columbus how to be a sea merchant and navigate to the West Indies. You had different migrations far before the Mongol, far before the European. In fact, the European was just the last to get here, and that's just the truth. But imperialism allows them to write history in a way that they have been one of the first, and that's not the truth. That's not the case. So when we say, what do I see for us as a people? I see a lot of narratives that are all unified in a sense of what we are owed and what's rightfully ours. Whether you want to agree that we are the Israelites and we take a religious approach. However, I don't condone or support one religion over the other, because I believe that people have the freedom to think what they think and believe what they believe. Everybody's God serves their purpose within spirituality. But there is no one narrative, and that's what we're seeking to prove. It's for me to say that all of us are Indigenous Americans, or like me saying that everybody in this country is African American because of our skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
What I can prove is that if you were here during, before, and after colonization at any point, the likelihood of you being African is very small, the likelihood of you being American Aboriginal. Now, I'm simply seeing that in the records, and that isn't me coming out with this theory based on a religion or based on a story of us being the navigators, although we were. That's me simply saying, change the history books and change how we are treated in this country, because we are more American than any other class.
Yeah. Understood. So I just want to ask you one last thing before we go ahead and end this, and hopefully we can do this again at another time. Want to remind everybody too to check out the description. The link to her website and her email is in the description. Definitely contact her to trace your lineage for your family. But I just wanted to ask you one question. I don't want to force like my beliefs or my way of thinking on anyone. This is Moors in America. What do you think to the prospect of us like collectively, unifying under a nationality and something that could, because with the term Moor, it's kind of a general term because you had people that look like us all over the world, and in many cases they were referred to as Moors. Moorish history actually descends farther back than most people give credit for. A lot of people attribute it to the Moorish Empire in Spain, but in actuality, there were several Moorish empires or Moorish powers, Moorish states. Um, it can go even deeper than that. I'm not gonna get really into that right now. But what do you think to that? Like something that could unify all of us together, that we could, historically, or we could have general claim to. And another thing about race and ethnicity, as far as this country is concerned, none of that stuff has any actual basis in your actual genetics or lineage. As far as like the racial and ethnic classifications that the government uses, these are all based on how you self-identify. So I was saying to you, one question: what do you think about us all self-identifying, unifying under a nationality, all the tribes, or at least for
I
all the people that want to go in that direction?
And that's what happened with the Iroquois Confederacy. Not to get into, go into a large detail, but the Iroquois Confederacy was the nationality for a lot of the Iroquois people. In fact, the United States Constitution, it's been proven, was stolen from the Iroquois and rewritten in the English language.
Yes.
United States existed during this period, and I think that it's only proper, and I speak very closely with my constituents, my mentors in private about how I seek to prove one thing. If you can't prove how we got here, then we were already here, and that is the nationality within itself. I know that we have different beliefs. I know that you have your, not to be so politically diluted, but you have your Martin Luther Kings, you have your Malcolm X's, you have W. Boyd, you have your Booker T. Washingtons. No matter what, we are still for the same cause, no matter the belief background. And in that respect, we need our own nationality, those who can prove that we were here during colonization in any form, way, or fashion. We have not claimed that yet. The only way we can claim Indigenous rights is in the global court. And that's why it's important to learn the law of the native, because they use the law of the court.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. I want to thank you for coming on here. It's been a pleasure having you on. I want to remind everybody to check out her links in the description. Maybe we can do this again in the future. It would be great if we could do that. I think there's a lot of interest in this, and every day more and more people are waking up to this knowledge.
Of course, it's been my pleasure, and thank you for allowing me to be on your platform. It's humbling to want to be accepted and know that there is a voice and a righteous belief system behind what I do.
All right, thanks. So, unless there's anything else you want to add, we're gonna go ahead and end this program. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, peace. All right, everybody. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and just want to say, if you haven't done so, click the share button. To the admins, moderators, y'all got to do something about this Creek River. Dude, I don't know what this person's problem is. Okay, Creek River, you blocked. you're never allowed to come in here again. As you can see, okay, we have people, from whatever walks of life, whatever ideology they're working with. We don't come on here and attack or try to force our ways on anyone else. That's not how you make progress. It's not how you work. Okay, it's not how things are done. So like this person was in the chat just saying a bunch of ignorant stuff. It's like that's not how we do, right? You're not gonna get anywhere with that type of attitude. So definitely what she shared was powerful, and it's great to have a sister who's doing genealogy, who has experience in it. That's awesome. And like, if you were listening to her, she said there's not a lot, out there. She said there were no black Indian, genealogists, and there's very few, black or African American so-called. These are, misnomers, but some of us don't know that. That's why I'm using those terms. So there's not a lot of black genealogists out there. All right, period. So it's powerful to have one on the program with us, and who's a professional who's coming in with the with the information and not just YouTube or internet scholarship. All right, so definitely, if you're serious about tracing your lineage, contact her. It's a great build. Make sure you click the share button. You guys know how I feel about nationality, Moorish American. I think that's the great unifier. I know we can get some things done with that, but that's my perspective on it. Just share the video. Help get this information out there. You can't just watch this. You have to share it. This isn't like, some dumb TV show. When you watch stuff like this, you have to share it. If you're not sharing it, it's not getting out there. You're the only one that saw it. And if you already are into this information and you're not sharing it, then you're not helping to spread it. So just make sure you hit share. Don't ever just watch something on this channel without sharing it. And share it a couple times too. Share this like throughout the week. Just keep it in rotation. Okay? And on that note, we're going to go ahead and end. It's getting late. I appreciate y'all. Thank you everybody for tuning in. And just make sure you hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel. Peace. Peace and love.